better money choices. Choose a bank that takes your money seriously. Business Watch is brought to you by Nedbank.
All right, it's a minute after 2. Welcome to Nedbank Business Watch today, this Wednesday. It's a beautiful Wednesday, Lulu, isn't it?
It is. It's quite sunny outside here in Babane, though.
Well, it is, but it's still cold,
Yeah.
I suppose, because me and you are in the comfort of this warm studio. We can say that it's pretty warm today, but it really isn't. But listen, it's going to be a show that is going to get you a little bit warm because it's a lot of interesting developments today that we want to discuss on the show. Coming up, the Central Bank of Eswatini is exploring the licensing of more banks. And you know what? The Eswatini Stock Exchange is also welcoming the move, especially with a focus on investment banks. Joining us will be economist Sanele Sibia via Zoom to discuss the potential impact of this development on the local economy as well as capital markets. Now, why is this important? You want to ask yourself this important question. Well, the entry of new investment banks could enhance liquidity, offer more diversified financial instruments, as well as to attract greater foreign investment to Eswatini. It also could strengthen the financial ecosystem, boost investor confidence, as well as fuel economic growth. But what challenges might arise? Could this lead to increased competition among banks, and what does it mean for the regulatory landscape? Some of the key questions I will be asking Sibia go around: how could new investment banks reshape the financial sector in Eswatini? What impact might this have on the stock exchange and local capital markets? You know that myself and Sanel, as well as Lulu, we always discuss, what is happening around the market. So this could also have an impact on the stock exchange. But other important question: will the move encourage greater foreign direct investment? It's a big question. What regulatory hurdles or risks should the Central Bank of Eswatini consider as they open the sector to more players? Stay tuned for what is going to be an insightful discussion on how this could redefine Eswatini's economic future. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah, a good one indeed. A good afternoon once again. Today we recap on the solar finance services provided by Nedbank Eswatini. Head of branch networks Zamangwane Dlamini had an interview with Sfiso a while back, and she said going solar can be a good investment for your property if you're a Nedbank client. So do stay tuned for this interview so you make decisions that meet your lifestyle needs. And for our leading story today, the Eswatini Bankers Association is holding talks with their counterparts in South Africa to find a lasting solution on the challenges faced by Eswatini, where transaction clearances in South Africa are delayed and being overly charged. On our last segment today, Sandiswa Dlamini, who is treasury dealer at Nedbank Eswatini, will join us to analyze today's financial markets. For now, let's go straight to our first story.
All right, we have hinted on it. The Eswatini Bankers Association is holding talks with their counterparts in South Africa. They want to find a lasting solution on the challenges that are faced by Eswatini, where transaction clearances, particularly in South Africa, are delayed and being overly charged. The Chief Executive Officer, Zakhele Lukele, says they are aware that the cross-border transactions system, which is now used by countries under the Common Monetary Area, it has posed challenges for locals. But unfortunately, for now, this is the only way the transactions can be done until the matter is resolved. Lukele's response comes after the Central Bank of Eswatini has also indicated that it is engaging the South African Reserve Bank on the very same issue. Let's listen.
As banks, we are aware that there are some complaints about the new system. We did advise that there will be some inconveniences here and there, which we apologize for, because the changes bring changes in something which has been probably maybe more convenient for customers. And now the channels are different, and probably maybe less effective than they were in the past. But we are concerned with that, and we are also going to work with the central bank and other constituencies to make sure that the customers are not inconvenienced. We have also been in touch with the Payments Association in South Africa, the Bankers Association in South Africa, who are also implementing on the other hand, like to make sure that customers are not inconvenienced. They are working also on their side that the implementation is as smooth as possible. We are at this stage only implementing the directives as issued by our authorities, which we have to comply with, but that should not take away responsibility that we are also an important player, and we also have to work with the authorities to make sure that customers are not inconvenienced. I think at this stage maybe some of the issues are coming up as we work on the changes, but we'll effectively, in the long run, have to sort out those issues that are arising. As it is at the moment, there are channels for sending money to South Africa, except that maybe there's been those changes which people are still grappling with. We're not saying people should go to alternative means because the official means are the more effective means and the official means of sending money. The sending money to South Africa is still available. There may be delays, there may be cost changes, but the sending money to South Africa and within the CMA is still available, and it's working as long as somebody is patient and plans properly on how to effect their transfers. But we have become aware that there are people who are now coming into the scene and saying they can do things differently or more effectively. But what we have noted is that some of what they are saying could be leading to people using illegal means and doing illegal transactions, and they may also fall prey for unscrupulous people who may not necessarily offer the services that they are providing. We've seen the central bank come out in the open to say they have not licensed anybody to carry out those services.
The Institute of Development Management, IDM, has partnered with the Eswatini Revenue Service to conduct lessons for small and medium enterprises on tax compliance. The marketing manager, Ntobeko Sibia, says they understand that taxes play a crucial role in government service delivery, hence their collaboration with the service.
A number of business owners have always voiced out their struggles with the processes of paying tax. The marketing manager at the Institute of Development Management, Ntobeko Sibia, explains more about the collaboration with Eswatini Revenue Service.
Eswatini Revenue Service deals with tax compliance in Eswatini. So we on the other side deal with education. So we're able to come together to be able to offer this training. We also found a need in the society or in the community that people are not well educated with issues when it comes to tax compliance. So this partnership with Eswatini Revenue Service aims to bridge this gap so that people can come here on Saturdays and come and learn in details of the details and the importance of tax compliance in Eswatini, so that they don't find themselves on the bitter end of the stick where they are now getting penalties and all that because of the lack of tax compliance.
Nganyiso Zita, senior accounting lecturer, gets into detail about how small and medium enterprises can benefit from the course.
This course includes issues like what is tax, what is involved in taxation, why do we pay taxation, and we are also looking at issues of value-added tax, because businesses also they have to pay tax, so we assist them there to appreciate how value-added tax operates, and also other issues of tax returns and other issues of legal interpretations within the country, because this course also involves the legal aspects of how umthetho waseSwatini ukuthi usebenza kanjani. So ke it embraces all these things at basic level.
The Eswatini Revenue Service has come up with different initiatives to ensure tax compliance, including the Sonzela Sikhulume campaign, where taxpayers, including businesses, are encouraged to talk to the service for tailored solutions for managing their taxes. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
It's 10 minutes after 2, and that's it for our business news. Thank you for staying with us. This is Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for tuning in. You can watch us on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV.
Right, I'm connecting with Sanele Sbia via our Zoom link. After the break, we're discussing everything licensing more banks in Eswatini. What does that mean? The implications, everything after the break. It's exactly 12 minutes after 2 p.m. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Today, we want to get into this important segment. The Central Bank of Eswatini is looking into licensing more banks, and the Eswatini Stock Exchange has welcomed the move, especially on investment banks. Sihle Tabetse is the Market and Product Development Officer. He has shared why this would be beneficial for the stock exchange. Let's listen.
The Central Bank of Eswatini says the banks which they look to license range from Category A to Category E. The bank says Category A is the large commercial and international banks, Category B is the medium-sized commercial banks, Category C is the regional and small financial institutions, Category D is the restricted license banks, and the last category is the Islamic Bank. We asked the Eswatini Stock Exchange on how this would impact them.
That would help, especially when you consider that we don't have an investment bank in the country. And investment banks are normally the ones driving listings for companies, getting companies to list, helping them with other professional advisors, of course. But an investment bank will actually help bridge the gap we have with our neighbors and other counterpart stock exchanges. So definitely an investment bank is something we need in the country, and they'll be able to advise clients in terms of how to list their company, and even underwriting. Investment banks normally underwrite a listing such that when the company says they want to sell 200 million, that investment bank would underwrite that they will take whatever securities that are not bought by the public, then go on to sell them again in the secondary market.
The central bank continues to say the prospect of onboarding new service providers in the banking sector remains a top priority, especially now that there are new technological advancements that have changed how people interact with banking institutions. For Nedbank Business Watch, Nelson Dlangamandla, Vuminkosi Nzinisa Mbabane.
All right, there it is. Sihle voicing a lot of optimism, but the story really that we are discussing is the Central Bank of Eswatini that is already preparing to license more banks, and the financial landscape of Eswatini rather could be on the brink of significant transformation. It's a move that is particularly the introduction of investment banks and is being welcomed by the Eswatini Stock Exchange. Market and Product Development Officer Sihle Tabetse, like I said, is voicing a lot of optimism noting rather the potential benefits for capital markets. But what does this really mean for Eswatini's economy, our stock exchange, as well as the investment environment at large? To dive deeper into this, Sanele Sbia joins us now live via our Zoom link, who is going to help us unpack the implications of this policy shift. Sanele, we want to look into how this might boost liquidity, attract foreign capital, the potential spare that the next wave of economic growth could experience. But, there's a lot of questions about it. The potential risks, market competition, the role of regulation in ensuring that these changes indeed lead to sustainable development. Perhaps before I ask you my questions, per how I prepared them, what is your overall sentiment, with this development?
Thank you, Mr. Ngumaro, and good afternoon to the viewer. So I think for me, this is actually one of those, moves that we expected to see a very long time ago, and it's only coming now, which we commend the Central Bank of Eswatini for. And I think that's one of the things we should commend the Central Bank in its current state. They are actually becoming a more progressive, and they're moving forward. So what this move will do, Mr. Ngumaro, is it's going to open up the depth. It's going to deepen our financial sector, and also it's just going to also work a lot towards financial inclusion and make sure that our financial sector is inclusive. So we are looking at a deepened financial sector, which is by no means going to both positive for economic growth and development. And we are also looking at a inclusive financial sector, which will ensure that every Liswati anywhere, regardless of their sex and gender and any other social caste variables, does have access to financial banking services. And once we start seeing that happening in an economy, what we then see usually follows is you find that those, once people have access to money, they start innovating more, and we are going to see a lot of businesses coming to the fray, and there's going to be a more inclusive type of growth if we see these moves that the central bank is proposing taking place and moving forward, Mr. Nima.
It's quite interesting because I kind of sense how you foresee the entry of more banks, especially investment banks, reshaping the Eswatini financial sector. But could we expect a significant increase then in trading volume and liquidity on perhaps the Eswatini Stock Exchange?
Yeah, that's the one thing that we would expect that this move would do, more so if we do get an investment bank to come into the play. Because what we are seeing right now, we have what we call conventional banks, or rather what we call commercial banks. What they do, they are more or less in the business of deposit taking and giving out credit, but they are not into, other financial instruments such as your trading of stocks, helping companies to list on stock exchanges, which will be an IPO. And that's what investment bankers do, basically. They go try to create demand and then bring the solution as well. So that should actually move the Eswatini Stock Exchange to actually have more activity. And we are going to see a lot of brokerage services also come into the play, where it's going to become a relatively easier and an assisted process for companies to list in the local stock exchange. So once you open up that landscape and you bring in those expertise or investment bankers, we are going to see that one happen. That's first off. And then secondly, what investment bankers do, you find that they have very big divisions ranging from research to trading stocks and equities to quite a number of business advisory services that they have in-house. But the trademark here is investment bankers are actually invested in the business of trading stocks, which would bring some activity again into the Eswatini stock market, because I do believe that's what the central bank is working towards, to say, when we license you, how much of your business is going to have to be conducted locally. So imagine bringing in investment bankers who are going to help investors list on the stock market, and then also have investment bankers who are also going to be on the lookout for those opportunities on the stock market. So we do expect it to have market moves, Mr. Ngumaro, in terms of the Eswatini Stock Exchange.
Interesting indeed. And perhaps does that then trickle into FDI? Do you believe this move could position Eswatini as a more attractive destination now for foreign direct investment, particularly because we are seeing that, you know, we have sectors that could greatly benefit in FDI?
More especially, yeah, that's true, Mr. Ngumara. And more especially if we are talking mega projects, that's what investment bankers do. If you go read back in time and go and find out what investment bankers do, what they do basically is when there is mega projects that need to be funded, they have to go and find the people to fund that, and just come up with relatively good terms for both the investor and the person who needs the money. So we do expect for FDI to start flowing in, more especially if we are going to be able to attract the right names as a country, if we are going to attract the right institutions to come into Eswatini and set up shop there. And when we are talking of FDI, we've also got to look throughout the spectrum of the proposed regulatory framework or the licensing agreement. If we now allow for Islamic banking to come into play as well, we do expect to attract a lot of money from entrepreneurs who only do business within the framework of Islamic banking. So before the opening up, you find that there is money that was not going to be attracted to coming to Eswatini, or it had to be attracted through other means of shifting the money around. But now, if you can say, if you want to come into Eswatini and do your banking and do your business, we do have your Islamic banking capabilities. You can come and set up and you have access to the money there. That's another way that we are going to see this happen. So it's going to happen from both the spectrum of investment bankers to the spectrum of Islamic bankers, who in most cases would do more or less the same thing, but it's an issue of the clientele. So that would mean we are more opening up as well to other markets that ideally, because of the configuration of our banking system, we were not tapping into much, Mr. Ngumaru. And then also on the domestic front, you will see that as you come to your regional banks and those small banks, if you look at evidence coming up in Africa, in Uganda, for example, there's a bank called Centenary Bank. It started as a small microfinance institution and it grew to a bank. So now that the space is opening up to say you can come in at any level of the spectrum, again, we're also going to see some surge in terms of local entrepreneurship into the banking sector. And once you do that, you find that the locals tend to have a better understanding of the market needs of the locals. So again, we do expect that to have a market impact or a multiplier effect in terms of access to finances for those people that would ideally not have that finance, Mr. Ngumaru. So I think all in all, we commend this move. Deepening the financial sector is one of the catalysts that the country needs to move forward. And more so if you are taking into the recent policy statement where we are talking mega projects, we do need to think of ways of financing our mega projects and bringing in those expertise in country to do their business. It would actually create a win-win situation where the country would also benefit in terms of accessing that finance for those mega projects, be it through your Islamic banking facilities or be it through the investment banking facilities or regional facilities. But that depth requires that if we want to take that bold step as a country, we need to get bold money and we need the expertise to come in country and be able to hold us hand on hand and work with us, as that's what investment bankers do. They don't just let you invest. And it's the same thing with Islamic banking. You are not just given money, we become active partners. It fosters partnership. It's one of the things that the country needs, Mr. Ngumaru.
Mr. Spear, do you know what? I really want to let you go. In fact, I am being told that our time is up, but I will take the risk of having them shout at me after our interview. But I ought to ask the risks of this whole development, because we are speaking a lot of benefits for our country, but surely there should be risks. I was just looking at, a statistic from Spain, where they have more banks now with some 40,000 branches, and they are the world's most overbanked country. I wonder, we are such a small country, and with our financial ecosystem right now, adding more banks, wouldn't that put us in a risk of overbanking? We may, rip some serious costs there, low profit margins, inefficiency and costliness.
The risks will always be there, Mr. Numalo. That is why one would have to say, for the central bank, what we expect to see before you get to the licensing would be the regulatory framework. For example, how do you stop an investment banker if they grow too big, maybe they become universal? How do you ensure that they do not have that conflicting interest where they go and tell you to invest in a security that they know that they have interest in, and then you invest your money and then they tell someone else to do those things, because they would have that much market power. So we need to have that regulation in terms of how we are going to
let's say,
control that. And then if you
why
allow
can't
the
I just
space
introduce
again
the clip ya Zama?
Hello?
Sorry, Mr. Spear, keep going.
Yes, and then in terms of your Islamic banking facilities, what you would realize is, as a country, the way we do our monetary and fiscal policy really would have no impact on Islamic banking. So that would mean we also need to think around how we are going to manage our monetary and monetary policy in the face of Islamic bankers. If they become too big, if we have a lot of them and they're creating a lot of money now in the economy, and their entire modus operandi does not necessarily align and cannot be controlled with our conventional monetary and fiscal policy. So we do need to have those controls in place. When you come to these small regional banks, what you need to have as well is those controls to make sure that you don't have banks that are going to close overnight. Make sure you have those reserve requirements. Make sure that there is money, if the people's money is always sitting there. Ensure that you are pushing for prudent lending rather than reckless lending. So we do need to ensure that we are not moving to those risky situations, because once people get overbanked, you will realize that then it has a lot of incentive to act in a way that's anti-competitive, because we always have to find money. We always have to find a way to make money. So I do believe the central bank is actually looking into this, and that is why they took so long to present these opportunities, because we need to ensure that when we go into it as a country, we have taken our steps to see what is actually going to happen. We do expect that before we see this, we should have a Securities and Exchange Commissions, for example. People are always going to be just investigating. So the bank should actually be improving, because right now that is done through the bank supervision unit in the central bank. So you should expect them to start beefing that unit up before actually rolling out those licenses, to ensure that we do minimize the risks as much as possible and ensure that we are not putting Imali Maswati at risk, Mr. Numan.
Minimizing a lot of risks and maximizing everything else that we can benefit. Sandra Spear there, our economist, very, very confident with the feasibility study that has been conducted by the Central Bank of Eswatini. Of course, risks are always there, but they did their feasibility analysis, and I'm sure our advantages outweigh the risks and potential threats. We did speak to Zamangwane Dlamini, who is the head of branch networks, on the 4th of September about their solar financing service. It is a great offering by the Nedbank Eswatini. We also do want to, just reflect on that important discussion that we had. Welcome back to Eswatini TV. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch, and today we're diving into a topic that is not only timely, but is very, very crucial for our future: solar energy. Now, as the demand for sustainable energy solution continues, it continues to rise, by the way, and Nedbank is still at the forefront, offering innovative solar financing options that cater to the diverse needs of individuals, of businesses, and as well as of communities. I beg your pardon. They have tailored loans that are competitive, and they have interest rates and comprehensive insurance. Nedbank is making it easier than ever to embrace solar power and enjoy the benefits of reduced energy costs and a smaller carbon footprint. Joining us today is Zama Dlamini, head of branch networks and personal banking at Nedbank. Not a stranger to the screen by now, I'm sure. She's going to discuss how their solar financing solutions are driving sustainability in Eswatini. Zama, a very, very good afternoon to you. Welcome to the program again for the I've lost count. I want to say for the fourth time, but I remember we also had you for the trade fair a year ago, I believe.
Last year, yes.
Which is funny enough because right now the trade fair is currently on. But anyway, that's not the
going.
conversation. Let's talk about solar financing. I'm interested in this myself because I love what, we are doing in terms of reducing our carbon footprint and making sure that we go green. You have introduced, and that is NetBank, not Sama. NetBank has introduced a range of tailored loans specifically for solar energy projects. Can you walk us through this? How do these offerings, enhance, or rather, can you explain how they cater to the unique needs of individuals, of businesses, as well as communities?
Afternoon, Guni. Thank you once again for having us. So yes, we have introduced some tailored solar financing options for our clients. What this means is that we have actually delved into our suite of asset-based or credit offerings across the bank. What we do is we look at the customer's specific needs and we've integrated them into the products that we offer. That is against our urban home loan, so that will be title deed land, rural home loan financing, that is against Emakaya in terms of a structure that you have there or your home, as well as asset-based financing and personal loans. So what we mean by integrated in this sense is that essentially the customer will be financed by NetBank. They would have their needs assessed in terms of their solar requirements.
Right.
My solar requirements are Ayashiana, and our needs vary. As you mentioned in your question to say how does it offer the specific unique needs to the customer. My needs may vary from yours. So the spectrum of the offering is quite broad.
Okay.
We are going into the period where it's rainy, it's summer, we have blackouts, we have power outs. Needs vary in terms of what the customer would require. From an individual's perspective, it may be that you would want water preserved in terms of heat. That would be solar paneling, as well as geyser heatages. Corporate or an SME might also want continuation of power. That would be a different kind of offering in terms of battery life, plugs availability, and sustained or continued access to power. So the intention of offering this through our product suite is to actually ensure that we cater for the flexibility within a customer's requirements. To say, as an example, if you include it in your urban home loan, the tenure or the period in which you would repay is obviously extended in that regard. And if you include it in what we call asset-based finance, or more like vehicle asset finance in the structure of it, is that the term would then be reduced in alignment to that. Maybe it's 5 years or 6 years or 7 years repayment in that regard. And what we would then do is that we would make sure that it's actually insured comprehensively, the gadgets.
So I would ask you how you stand out in the market, because the market looks to be a competitive market right now. But I think you've done a pretty good job of selling that even to me, just as Sifiso. The fact that you assess everything, the fact that, the repayment term becomes as conducive as you've already pronounced. But I also wonder then how does interest rates speak to it? Because I would want to assume there's also an interest rate benefit to it.
That's correct. The interest rate benefit is always expressed to say it's relevant to the customer's requirements, unfortunately. The pricing remains competitive. Interest rates, our pricing is related to the interest rates, and as a result, that's why we speak of the tenure in terms of the product offerings, to say your interest rates will be competitive and possibly substantially reduced if you take up our solar products on the home loans, as an example. But the customers do have the leeway to actually take it up as a personal loan, which means that the interest rates might become a little bit increased, according still to the customer's affordability as well. So I think we have given the customer the opportunity to actually engage in terms of finding out their needs. And further to that, we've made it seamless for our customers. We've partnered with solar service providers who are primarily banked with Nedbank. We are not exclusive or preclusive. We are open to engaging with other businesses that offer this offering to partner with the bank, in the sense that when the customer is engaging with the bank, we do link them with that service provider who would go to their place of residence to assess the needs and come up with a quote, after which we then sit down with the client and also unpack some of the benefits that they can get in terms of the pricing, the financing, but the overall benefits and cost saving or electricity costs and or having increased disposable income may be medium to long term for the customer because of the initial upfront costs of setting up. But thereafter, I think customers would have peace of mind. You know that should any eventuality happen, you are sustained. We are not contributing to the carbon footprint, as you mentioned it. We are a green bank. We are promoting sustainability. And
no pun intended. Green bank.
And ultimately, we do want to actually expand the offering all through the sectors, not just households. As we've spoken, we do also promote good in our communities as well. So in the agriculture space, we are also looking to see where this solar products and efficiencies can actually come in to support our clients, whether it's in irrigation, whether it's in agriculture, and also commercial businesses as well, to say how then do they supplement some of their operational costs using this type of power.
Maybe in the spirit of repetition there, for the benefit of the viewer, I think we ought to appreciate how extensive their integrated approach is. Rural homes, urban areas, communities, farmers, everything. How intentional is that, Zama, if you will indulge me on that?
I think we are quite intentional. As I've mentioned, we do promote the sustainability. I think we also want to see our customers living in ease and within their comfort in terms of their spend and affordability. We've also seen that the costs of electricity continue to rise. The cost of living for the ordinary customer and businesses also continues to rise. So we have decided to stand in the gap to say, how then do we support our customers? The integrated approach as well in exploring all our product offerings and partnering with solar providers is to ensure that this process is seamless for any customer that engages with us, and any customer that would be interested in finding out. We are partnering intentionally, as you mentioned, to understand what the benefits will be that the customer could derive, and also to understand the technicalities of how it really makes a difference in your life.
This insurance cover, by the way, very comprehensive. I think we can deduce that from everything that you are saying. But we also do want to be awake to the fact that there's quite a lot of insurance companies. You could have literally partnered with all of them if you wanted to, or say most of them, but there's a particular one that you chose to partner with. And I suppose, you could elaborate on how this one safeguards clients' investments and the specific risks that it covers.
Okay, so we have gone comprehensive insurance cover. There are multiple or varying types of insurance covers that are available in the market, and we have partnered with Eswatini. Eswatini is offering this product, which is the comprehensive insurance. And the reason for that is because we do want to provide assurance to our customers as well. We do want to give them peace of mind that once they've installed this solar product, whatever they decide to take up, they have some level of comfort that should anything happen, the comprehensive insurance will come into play or will cover them for any eventuality. So what the comprehensive cover actually ensures is any natural disasters, theft, any damage that might have happened. And this is just to ensure that any eventuality, as I mentioned, that does happen, we are able to replace the gadget as soon as possible through the service providers we've partnered with, and ensure that we make that process for the customer seamless as well.
All right, Zama. One can't help but notice the strategic partnerships that you have with SMEs and corporate clients, so to speak. And it's funny, right now, this interview is coinciding with what is happening at the trade fair, that is the International Trade Fair, which also has a big focus on SMEs and, just growing the corporate industry in Eswatini based on innovation. And this particular product, solar financing, is exactly that. If you will, just speak to me about your stall there right now, which SMEs and corporate clients can, I suppose, go there and look at and obviously want to support. And in turn, they're supporting their businesses, I suppose. Talk to me about these offerings as we can see the visuals.
So, yes, you're quite correct in terms of the intentional strategic partnerships with our SME clients as well as corporate clients. And we encourage for more SME customers to partner with us, open accounts with us.
Yeah.
The actual intention of partnering with them is to grow their businesses and also to help them operationally reduce their costs.
Yeah.
We also understand that the partnerships with these types of companies assist us as a bank as well. As you know, we are not necessarily experts in the field of solar.
Yeah.
We are experts in the field of finance and how to handle your finances. So for us, it was very important that we actually partner with these types of service providers and these types of clients to sustain their businesses and also leverage off of their skill sets in that regard. So the partnerships works to everyone's benefit. It's advantageous for everyone in the sense that, of course, the quality of the installation or the actual products that the customer will get, we would be comfortable that, the service providers or our clients actually know what they're doing, and they're quite conversant and experienced in this field. So that then is actually the assurance in terms of quality of the provision of the services, and it gives the customers a level of comfort to say the bank has partnered with people who have been in the business and know exactly what is required in terms of meeting their needs. So the partnership in terms of how it would work with our service providers or how it works with our service providers is the customer will inquire with us. We would link them up with a service provider of their preference. They would then obtain the quote and they would come back to the bank for us to actually calculate in terms of their affordability, their tenure, and all of that in terms of what they prefer from our credit product suite. Alternatively, the customer can obtain a quote independently of any of the service providers we've partnered with and approach the bank to request for assistance, financial assistance in the execution of the solar product.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Zama, we are really, really thankful for this particular service. And I'm not just thanking you as Safiso or a journalist or Eswatini TV, but as the whole nation, really, because this is a product that I suppose the whole country urgently needs, and making it easier for anyone that is really interested in it. And I suppose that becomes very crucial, especially in this very busy world now. If you can, sit at home and know that I have NetBank literally holding my hand and walking me through everything that I'm doing in getting my home or my business or whatever it is that I'm trying to get solar financed, exactly, done that to it, solar financed. Thank you, Zama. Thank you for staying with us on the program. We'll go for a net break. We'll return shortly.
Digital helps you make cross-border payments. Human gives you global specialists. Digital allows you to apply for a loan anytime, anywhere. Human connects you to credit experts. Digital puts you in control of your money, while Human connects you to wealth advisors. Digital allows you to freeze, unfreeze, cancel, and reorder your card. Human gives you that personal touch. Digital when you want it. Human when you need it. Get the complete private banking experience with NetBank Private Clients.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. This is Nedbank Business Watch. We continue with our program. The International Monetary Fund says the stock exchange serves as an economic barometer that is indicative of the state of the economy. Whilst there has been major movements in the stock markets across the globe, Eswatini Stock Exchange has not been showing much movement. Business journalist sits down with Sihle Tabete, who is the Market and Product Development Officer at the Eswatini Stock Exchange, who shares more insights on what causes the local stock exchange not to have movements.
Sihle, welcome to the program. There is a concern that the local stock exchange is not moving. There are no movements. What causes that?
Unfortunately, we have limited companies, so people tend to buy those securities, which is shares and bonds, and they hold them because there is an issue of finding other securities to buy. So what the exchange can do is work hard to increase the number of companies listed so that there is a broader selection when it comes to getting securities. And with that, it will encourage people or make them not feel scared when they sell their securities, knowing very well they can buy or invest into another listed company.
How many companies, Sihle, are currently listed on the Eswatini Stock Exchange?
We currently have 9 companies that are listed on the equity board. We have Royal Eswatini Sugar Corporation, Nedbank, SBC, Konyeni Precast, Christian Partners, Inala, Swazi Empowerment Limited, and we have Swazi Property Investments.
Something is just coming into my mind, Sihle. You are saying you've got 9 companies that are listed on the Eswatini Stock Exchange. Then there's Business Eswatini, which is a big organization that has 280 big companies that contribute 90% of the private sector GDP. Have you engaged them? Why is it that you have such a small number when there are so many big companies in the country?
You're actually right there. There's a lot of companies. But the problem is the companies themselves, they have to be willing to involve Eswatini by going public and listing on the stock exchange. Most companies are discouraged by the rigorous process you have to go through before listing, which is ensuring that file meets the minimum requirements of the Stock Exchange, Securities Act, and the Companies Act. So you find that companies that are listed, they have to disclose everything they do, and that might be a problem for some companies. They don't like disclosing, but since ours are public companies, public floated companies, they have to disclose. But we will be engaging Business Eswatini in terms of trying to encourage those companies to list, because it will be beneficial to them, to Eswatini, to the whole economy, and it will help us when we're trying to get foreign direct investment, because someone who's overseas, the first thing they will look at is the country's stock exchange to see how that economy is performing. So yes, I would really like to engage with Business Eswatini and those companies that are members there to encourage them to list on the stock exchange.
You are speaking about the need to increase the companies. Who is eligible to buy shares at the Eswatini Stock Exchange? Ngasuka in manager as an individual and buy the shares.
So there's this myth that only rich people can invest in the stock exchange, and that's not true. Anyone with the necessary documentation and the funds can invest in the shares that are listed by the main companies. In terms of companies, they can also invest into those shares. You might find that a company buys shares of another company just to diversify their income. Yes. So an individual can buy shares, a company can buy shares, even a trust can buy shares on the stock exchange. You just need the necessary documents for individuals. You need your bank statement, your proof of residence and your national ID. And for companies, you will need Form J, Form C, and what's this? An account, obviously. Yes, but all these are available on our website for those who would like to know how to start investing.
How much do I have to have? Is there a certain amount? Because I'm here thinking maybe I need to have $1 million to buy shares.
It depends on you which ones you want to invest in based on your preference and your research on which company will better suit you. So the cheapest one right now is R1.40, which is Inala Capital. Then the next cheapest is Ngonyeni Precast, which is trading at R1.50. And the most expensive one is Swazi Empowerment Limited, trading at 39 Malangeni. But then it depends on you on which share you'd like to buy based on your research and your understanding of how the company is going to perform going forward, whether it's going to give you returns for your investments, because some companies they declare that they're still in the building phase, so they don't pay dividends. So we have to bear with that, and you just have to choose the one that suits you. In terms of minimum, you can start investing at any amount. You don't have to have. We don't have a threshold, so you have to start at 2,000 shares. You can invest in any. And in terms of the available shares, you just need to create a trading account. Then you'll be able to input your buy order, and you don't have to worry if there are any available at that time, because we're using a central order book, which means you can put in your buy order and it will come to the central order book. Then you find that 2 minutes or 30 minutes later, someone puts in a sell order, it will come to the central order book. Then if it's the shares you wanted, it will match. So you don't have to wait and be told there's some shares available. So you just need to put in your order.
Ukuluma about the different processes that the companies have to go through, or the requirements that they should have before listing on the Eswatini Stock Exchange. Sike sabona ngaphambilini itiko letemabhizinisi lona lithi kunema localization laws lenta ukuthi bahlanyele imali bangakhoni kahle kungena eveni. Kukhona inini lapho nibuka khona ukuthi ningacegisa khona kude letinkampani letitongena ku-Eswatini Stock Exchange tikhone ukukhulisa umnotfo nato nibe naletinengi kunalo 9 lenayenyana.
So ngeke ngisho ukuthi ukunciphisa kithi kubasita sibabambe isandla bakhona ukuyenta lento, because stock exchange ngathini silwane esihlukile. So dava sibatsinga usito, so lokhu singakwenta njani, lokhu singakwenta njani, hayi ukuthi sinciphise lemithetho yethu ngoba wethu ukuthi si-protect ema-investors. Sente sure ukuthi letinkampani labathenga kitwa ama-shares dithembekile, ditawuchubeka kube khona for the longest time. So ibalance ngeke ngithi sitawunciphisa, sisababamba sandla sibagayide, so lokhu kwentiwa so, because udawuva silabanye abantu abati ukuthi okay, inkampani singawuthi ibe i-public company, and nama-directors benama-financials auditwe kahle ukuze ibe listed. So inkampani uyevathi tite ema-records ati-auditor, i-governance yato iyacheka-cheka, thina bese siyabasitha sithi okay, i-governance siyifuna ibambe na-standard nasi ukuze sente sure ukuthi kunema-separation of powers, nema-controls, and ema-investors are-protectekile kuleto tinkampani labatawuthenga lawo ma-shares kuto.
I fully understand the challenges that you are facing when it comes to getting the companies to list on the stock exchange, but when can we expect movement in the Eswatini Stock Exchange, Sihle?
It's really hard to say, but it also depends on how people are feeling based on in terms of how they perceive that company to perform, because some people buy into companies that they know are going to perform in the future, or some will let go because they feel like that company is not going to perform. But fortunately, most of our companies are performing well. which is why people tend to buy and hold, knowing very well they're going to benefit from those huge dividends that these companies pay. I would just like to encourage companies to consider the stock exchange in terms of raising capital. They're just going to apply, issue out shares, and they will get capital back. By doing so, they're involving more Eswatini, such that if I know very well this company is listed on the stock exchange, let me make an example of going in precast and I'm building my home, and I've got shares in that company, I will definitely go buy my building material from them, because I know I'm supporting a company that I'm an investor in, and that company, when it does well, I also benefit.
Siyabonga kakhulu Sihle for joining us on Nedbank Business Watch. Siyathemba ukuthi the insights and the information that you have shared will help Eswatini to better understand the world of equity investing.
Welcome back. You're still watching Nedbank Business Watch. Thank you for staying with us. We now want to get into our final segment of the program, which is our financial markets with Treasury dealer Sandiswa Dlamini from Nedbank. Afternoon, Sandiswa. Thank you for coming through. Let's get into it. We do not have enough time. So let's start with currencies. You know, Iran attacked Israel this week. What effects did this have? Did it cause a lot of panic among investors?
Thank you, Lulu. Good afternoon to you, and good afternoon to all your viewers at home. So, as you have rightfully said, Iran yesterday attacked Israel with a barrage of missiles to their capital city of Tel Aviv, and this caused a panic in the markets, and most investors and traders are now moving towards holding the USD, which is seen as a safe haven in currencies. So, the demand of the US dollar rose, and as a result, we've seen the depreciation of the rand against all three major currencies, including the euro, and there was a bit of appreciation against the GBP. But in the case of the US dollar, that's just because the demand of the US dollar just went up as of yesterday. We can see that the US dollar is trading at 17.3817, and the euro at 19.2392, and the GBP at 230802.
Okay.
The GBP did not appreciate because we are expecting that the Chancellor of the UK is going to give a speech, and there is an anticipation that in that speech she's going to talk about a series of tax hikes, and there's also going to be a budget cut for the government. So that's why the UK government, the UK currency is not doing so well currently.
All right. So apart from the war, what data can we expect to be released this week?
So this week in the Eurozone, we do expect that they will give us their unemployment data. We also expect payroll data from the US at the end of the week. So those two data, like from both countries, we expect them to have a bit of effect on the movements in the currencies. But most specifically in the US, we also had a speech given by the governor on Monday where he signaled that the US government might not cut interest rate as in a high intensity as we initially expected. So he said they will cut at 25 basis points moving forward, on which the traders were expecting 50. So that also led to the appreciation of the US dollar.
All right, so moving quickly to commodities, the price of oil and the price of gold seem to be high. So what are economists anticipating?
So in the space of commodities, we have seen high prices of gold. In recent weeks, gold have been hitting new highs, but it fell a little bit today. But economists are still anticipating that the price of gold is going to go higher. That's because gold is also seen as a safe haven, especially in times of uncertainty, just like the war. So the price of gold is currently at 2,650. Economists are speculating that it might hit 3,000 if things continue in the pace that they are in currently. And the price of crude oil is also high at 75.80. So the price of oil is affected by the fact that the supply might be affected in the Middle East and the high cost of transportation for the oil to the other countries in the world.
So are we also seeing the same trend on equities? How are they doing?
So equities are surprisingly doing well. The FTSE and the JSE are surprisingly doing well. The S&P 500 is not so doing well, and that's because it is highly dense with tech companies, and tech companies today are not doing so well. Like Nvidia, Microsoft, Apple, and Amazon are currently down. As you can see, S&P is at 5,708. Which is a 0.93% drop. The FTSE and the JSE all share are currently doing well. The FTSE is doing well because of the energy and industrial mining stocks, which are up. That's because of the China policy that was implemented recently. The JSE all share is also up because in South Africa we have companies that are Chinese exposed, which are also benefiting from the Chinese stimulus policy.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, Sandisa, for that analysis for today's financial markets. It's a minute before 3 o'clock. We have come to the end of our program today. Thank you for tuning in. You were watching Nedbank Business Watch. If you just tuned in, worry not, you can still watch this episode on our YouTube page, Eswatini TV. We'll see you next week at exactly 2 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your day.